Okay, I'm not going to be talking too much today. So I will ask that you do give me your attention here. It will not take long. I just want to do a really quick recap of what we did yesterday. Yesterday, we looked about income tax. That's how your federal and your provincial governments make most of their money. Most of your Canadians pay about $5,800 a year. That's like a $60,000-ish salary, for example. It normally gets deducted off your paychecks. Your workplace is able to figure out a good idea about how much you're supposed to be charged. If you're charged too much, you're going to get some back at the end of the year. If you're charged too little, you're going to have a really crappy bill in the mail at some point. So usually you don't want to overpay. You want to overpay, right? It's like a piggy bank you didn't know you have. They figure out how much you pay based off those tax brackets. Now, if you remember here, in Saskatchewan, you charge for the first 10.5% on that first $46-ish thousand, 12.5% on the amount above that up to 133,000. And if you make a really good salary over 133, you get charged 14.5%. But if you remember, you don't get charged the highest percentage based on how much you're earning. It gets charged for that first 60 grand, then for any amount remaining. So if you make 50 grand, you don't just pay 12.5% of that entirely. Most of that's still coming from that 10.5%. Here we go. And then we have federal tax brackets. So there's a difference, right? You pay income tax to the province and to the country. They both have different tax brackets. So we have the Saskatchewan one, we have the federal one there. And then those are the tax rates, of course, is how much percentage. This is an example of a T4 form. This really just shows how much money you have earned from a source, usually like a job. So how much money you've earned from a job, and then how much money you've paid in stuff like EI and your retirement and like all your deductions. Yeah, that was an example of it. You have an example of a pay stub from yesterday as well. We've already talked about this. Cool. So we're almost done. Now, the very first thing we did on Monday was the very first thing that was said once I asked you guys, what do you know about taxes? Oh, GST and PST. We know what those are. We have a really good idea about them. Has anyone ever heard of HST before? And that's okay. And that's fine. It's not really a Saskatchewan thing. So HST is something called harmonized sales tax. I'll come into it in a second here. It'll make sense once we get there. Now, we have a pretty good idea what GST is. It's goods and services tax. It's charged on most stuff in Canada, right? You pay the same GST rates as people in Newfoundland, as people in Alberta, as people in the Northwest Territories. Now, we know what PST is, that's provincial sales tax. What happens with HST, called harmonized sales tax, is it sucks to remember some of this stuff sometimes. They just made it easier. They're like, you know what? Saskatchewan has a 6% PST, and we have a 5% GST. Screw it, it's 11%. That's what it is. They just combine it into one, and then you don't have to think about it anymore. So instead of it, you're paying 5% for this and 50% for this, you're just going to pay a flat 11%. So harmonized means that they just combined the two of them. So GST is charged on most goods and services in Canada. So just to give you an example there, our PST is at 6%, Canada's GST is at 5%. If you go to buy like a $2 pop or something like that, you're going to pay an additional 11%, right? So you pay an extra 22 cents. So the pop itself costs $2.22. So here's a question for you. Does anyone here like the system we have where, like, it says $2, but you're going to pay a little bit extra at the till? Does anyone here hate it?
You forgot the recycling fee.
Oh, and the recycling fee. True. I should use a better example there. When I was in the UK, what you saw advertised was what you paid. If it said $2 on the sticker on the shelf, that's how much I paid when I go to actually buy it at the shelf. I loved that. You didn't have to think about the taxes and stuff. Because, sometimes like you're trying to wonder, like, can I afford this? And you're like 5 cents off because, maybe the mental math wasn't there that day or forgot to round something. I hate our system. I wish they just told us this is how much you're going to pay. Done. So that's GST. There are things that are, these are some of the stuff that gets taxed by. brand new houses. Keyword there's new. There's commercial real estate, right? You own a business. You buy cars, you do car repairs, soft drinks, clothing, advertising, taxis. If you do legal or accounting services, people who buy franchises, Subway is the most popular franchise in the world. People pay the government tax on that. If you buy hotels or you get a haircut, stuff like that. Now there are some things that are exempt though. There are some things that are exempt. So I have two lists here. You don't have to remember all this. This is fine. This is going to be uploaded after. Don't worry about it. But here's some examples of things that are exempt. Now, my question for you though is, you can see the stuff on there. Why do you think the government would exempt some of this stuff? Take a look specifically at like some of the stuff on there. Why would the government exempt some of this stuff, do you think? Austin, any guesses? If you can just guess, you don't. I'm not expecting anyone to know. I'm just expecting a guess. So how come you think some of this stuff might be exempt? The greedy government, they want money. How come they're not taking money on this? Because we need it, yeah, right? You need to buy food to live. If you have a kid, you probably need to buy diapers. If you have diabetes, you need to get insulin. You know, if you're really, really bad at hearing, you probably need hearing aids, right? This is stuff that you need. So they're not going to make you pay extra for it. And that 5% adds up a lot over time. So yeah, stuff that you need is exempt. Stuff that they think benefits the economy, like, hey, wouldn't it be really, really good if people in Canada could buy grain for their business, Dempsters could buy raw grain for bread at a lower price because you get basic groceries GST exempt. So I have another list here of just some exemptions here. Again, you don't need to memorize them, but here's some other things that are also exempt. Again, you buy a used house, you're not paying tax on that. If you on used cars, you have to. That was a recent one. So one of my friends, his dad is super mechanically like savvy, really good with cars. So for reference, my friend, when he was 16, he had like 30 grand in his bank account because his dad helped him. He would buy cars, he'd do some quick repairs, and then he'd sell them. He would flip them. And so he made 30 grand by the time he was 16 doing that. And like, that's just the kid, never mind the dad. And so eventually government came, it's like, he's seeing that, he's selling hundreds of thousands of dollars of cars every single year. And they're like, we're going to start taxing you on that. So all people now selling used cars, technically it's tax. So these are some things that exempt, right? Used house, if you're renting somewhere, you don't pay tax on rent. If you go to the dentist, again, usually if you have, dentist is a good thing. They want you to be healthy. They're not going to charge you that. Childcare, crazy expensive childcare. If you have to go to a lawyer, if you're going to school, like tuition, that's not going to charge you. And there's other stuff there, but I want to go into the PST here really quickly. We're almost done. Where's my mouse? Here we go. So PST we know is stuff in Saskatchewan, right? It's in the name, provincial sales tax. Saskatchewan. Our rate is 6%. These are some things that are exempt. Again, groceries, reading materials, agriculture, drugs, diapers, stuff like that. They exempt stuff because they want to make it more affordable for you. Morning. So you don't want to keep things affordable for you, or they think it's going to stimulate the economy, right? Agriculture equipment can cost like $1 million for like a new piece of like fancy farm equipment. They want the farmers to have that stuff. Because then they're more productive, they can grow bigger crops, better crops, they can make more money for the province. Yes, so what you're gonna need is either your phone, you either need your phone or a computer. Either need your phone or a computer for this. Give me a second. You're gonna go to Kahoots.com. So you're gonna go to here. Let me load it up there. Come on. Where are you? You're gonna go to this website here, and you're gonna put in.
I'm gonna get called around to
9:45. Were you able to get off Global Sastel finally?
Yeah, I waited for like 15 minutes,
That's always annoying, right?
but I got one.
But you got it. Okay, yeah. So you're gonna go to that website you see, and you're going to put in that code. I will give you like 2 minutes for that.
Is that free space?
I don't know actually. I'm just trying to.
No,
Okay, put that. So what is it? So it's 883-5543.
Where is it? Oh, it's not one.
883. Yeah, you do not need a space.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, done it. So I'll give you another minute there to. You can put it whatever you want, just make sure it's appropriate because I can't kick people out.
Okay, okay.
Yes. My God, playing this with like grade 9s, they always try and come up with like the stupidest names to like try and put something dirty in there every time. Resume recording. So what's happening today is we are you get a little bit of time to finish up that income tax module. If you remember, that is this stuff right here. There's a list of questions that you could find by going through and completing module 8 on the Canada.ca website. So you get a little bit more time there to complete that because I know it's a lot. I want to give you time for that. And then to finish up the tax section, we have one final thing with taxes is you get a choice. Actually, it's a project, kind of a choice. So you can choose one of these two options. Option 1, if you complete your taxes by, I'm going to change this to Monday. I'm going to change this to Monday. If you can show that you have completed your income tax forms by Monday, I'll explain more in a second. You can then design a 10-question multiple choice test or a Kahoot, that's fine too, about taxes. So choice 1 is you design a shorter test, but you have to have your taxes done by Monday. I will change that. That's by Monday. Or you can just design a slightly longer test or Kahoot about it. So I'll go into some details about each of these. For completing your income tax, you can do it any way you know how. You can do it yourself, but if you're like I'm going to be honest, guys, my mom's an accountant. My mom still does my taxes because that's her literal job. So she just does it for everyone in my family. So I just ask her to do it. So all I want you to do is just show some proof for that. If there's any personal information, you know, I don't need to know your like SIN number or anything, but I just need to see any type of proof. Use your best judgment for like what would count as proof there. So if you complete your taxes by Monday, cool. If you're unsure where to get started, I can help you out with that. The site that you know I've used in the past is TurboTax, but Kim, you had another site or program. Yeah, but there's a ton of different programs out there. There's free ones out there. So we can help you out with that. This is some of the stuff you need to be able to complete that. So you need your social insurance number. You need any income slips that you have, records of any income. If you have any like deductions, for example, you could use that. So if you're completing your income tax, cool. That's just some of the stuff that you need. Now on to the test. The difference here is some of you are going to be doing a 10 question, some of you are going to be doing a 15 question. You're going to be doing multiple choice questions, and it's going to be in A, B, C, D format, right? So one of the following 4 questions is true. You can also do true or false in there as well. You can throw some true and false in there. You can either design it on Microsoft Word, or you can do a Kahoot like what we just did. All you really need though is an answer key, and you want some realistic type of like questions and answers, right? It shouldn't be, which of the following is a type of tax? PST, GST, blue, red. Shouldn't be something like that. So you want like, answers to at least make some sense. If you're like, well, I don't know what 15 questions I could possibly do, this is where you could explore some previous stuff we've looked at. You could take a look at the stuff you've done already, right? Everyone here's already gone through module 8. You could look at some of your questions and answers there. You could go back through module 8, skim through it. You could look at this PowerPoint, which I'm going to upload in a second. You could look at this Kahoot or similar Kahoots as well for different types of questions as well. You could even Google some stuff, things you need to know about Canadian taxes. So you can get a little creative with this. But so this is just the format of the test, right? So 10 to 15 questions, either multiple choice or true and false, has to be on Word or on Kahoot, and it needs an answer key. Now I'm gonna kind of further restrict it though. You want to try and have at least one question on the following types of things, because those are a lot of the things that we've kind of touched on these last few days here. So these are the types of things you're going to want to touch on with those questions there. And if you're choosing 10 questions, there's 10 things there. So you want to have each of those in there. Okay. Is there any questions at all about that? Okay, hearing none, I will give you guys time to work then. So just a reminder, it's time for you get some time to finish up that income tax module, and then you can begin working on that project. This PowerPoint will get uploaded in like 1 minute. Please let me know